Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janandana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Radha Parisisvara Mandir. Oh Krishna, again Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Shiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Nashtapreshu Bhavashu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Namaskruke Bhakti Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshachunyavadi Pashtatyadishchatarine Agnyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadasi Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So good morning, we are continuing reading from the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, verses 52 and maybe 53 and maybe 54 and maybe 55. Let's see. Yeah, 53 is there. Right? 53. Kastapasyaham atham pasimatsya sangat.
Which one
You say 52.
Oh,
Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. 52, right?
Evam 53. 2 was Maharaj spoke yesterday. Evam vasam grihe kalam
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
If you learn by repeating, by hearing, that will benefit you. You don't have to look at the board. I mean, you can look once, but then better you remember or hear and try to make the sound. Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Somebody else?
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Virakto nyasmastitaha.
Virakto nyasmastitaha.
Vanam
jagamanuyayuh.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha. Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Vanam jagamanuyayus.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha. Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Vanam jagamanuyayus.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Evam vasangrihe kalam.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Virakto nyasam astitaha.
Vanam jagamanuyayuh.
Vanam jagamanuyayus.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
Tatpatnya patidevataha.
So we read word for word.
Yes.
Word for word translation. Evam.
Evam.
In this way.
In this way.
Vasan.
Vasan.
Living.
Living.
Grihe.
Grihe.
At home.
At home.
Kalam.
Kalam.
Passing away time.
Passing away time.
Viraktaha.
Viraktaha.
Became detached.
Became detached.
Nyasam.
Nyasam.
In the renounced order of life.
In the order of life.
Astitaha.
Astitaha.
Became situated.
Became situated.
Vanam.
Vanam.
In the forest.
In the forest.
Jagama.
Jagama.
He went.
He went.
Anuyayuhu.
Anuyayuhu.
Was followed by.
Followed by.
Tatpatnyaha.
Tatpatnya
All his wives.
All wives.
Patidevataha.
Patidevataha.
Because their only worshipable object was their husband.
Because their only worshipable object was their husband.
So translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
text number 53. In this way he passed his life in household affairs for some more time. But then he became detached from material enjoyment. To renounce material association, he accepted the Vanaprastha order and went to the forest. His devoted wives followed him, for they had no shelter other than their husband. Tatra tattva tapastikshnam atmadarshanam atmavan sahaivakni bhir atmanam yuyoja paramatmani. When Saubhari Muni, who was quite conversant with the self, went to the forest, he performed severe penances. In this way, in the fire at that time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada's purpose. At the time of death, fire burns the gross body, and if there is no more desire for material enjoyment, the subtle body is also ended. And in this way, a pure soul remains. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Tyaktva deham punarjanma 90. If one is free from the bondage of both the gross and subtle material bodies and remains a pure soul, he returns home, back to Godhead, to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Tyaktva again, same verse, Tyaktva deham punarjanma 19, but here he's not just says 19, not 18, no more birth, but he says Mam 18. When he comes to me, he goes back home, back to Godhead. Thus it appears most probably, Prabhupada says, that Saubhari Muni attained that perfection also, that perfect stage. Taksva Patyu Maharaja Nirikshyadyatmikim Gatim Anbiyo Stat Prabhavena Agnim Shantam Ivarchisha. That's the last verse of the chapter, so no need to keep it for a separate lecture. O Maharaja Parikshit, by observing their husband progressing in spiritual existence, Saubhari Muni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his spiritual power. Well, anyways, that may be separate verse. Just as the flames of a fire cease when the fire is extinguished. Okay, let's just first discuss those maybe. So here we have a very interesting, actually it's very relevant what's happening here. It's extremely relevant, dear friends. Although we may be reading it as a kind of a story that happened somewhere with some guy, with all due respect. But actually, it's all about us. Because what is the meaning of discussing the fall down of Saubhari Muni? Why we discuss it?
To not do the same.
Yes, not to do the same, but not to do what? Exactly. What was the mistake of Saubhari Muni?
Well,
He was alone
Vaishnava
without,
Parad.
he was alone without association.
He was alone without association. Vaishnava Parad, what else?
And contemplating the objects of the senses.
Contemplating. Just contemplating.
The objects of the senses.
Just contemplating the objects of the senses.
Yeah, because that requires attachment and lust, and there's a whole progression. It's described in Bhagavad Gita.
What else? What's your understanding of his fall down? Like, we're discussing the fall down. So what was the fall down?
The fact that he had to marry.
The fact that he had to marry. Brahmachari getting married, that's called fall down. Okay.
He abandoned his practice.
He abandoned his yoga practice. What else? So many things we can call a fall down. So the point of the 9th canto is what? What is the main message of the 9th canto?
Liberation.
Huh?
How to be liberated from our material entanglement. Well, the title is Liberation, so.
And okay. So what does it mean to? Yeah, that's true. That it's to get liberated, but liberated from what? What does it mean, the material entanglement? This is very important because yes, that's true. Because we are heading towards the 10th canto, and we cannot understand. We cannot even hear. No, not to speak about understanding or implementing or whatever, contemplating, nothing. We cannot even hear the 10th canto unless we get through this process of purification. So what is that purification? What is this liberation? So what was the mistake that Saubhadra Muni did, and that we should be aware of, at least be aware of, understanding that we also make those mistakes, and we have to correct them. So the ninth canto is about correcting the mistakes, the very, very subtle but very fundamental mistakes.
He diverted his mind from Krishna.
Excuse me?
He diverted his mind from Krishna.
From what?
From Krishna.
His mind was not at all Krishna. He didn't divert his mind from Krishna. What else? So what was the problem? And this is very important. Actually, we spoke about it before. So you should know. 2 times already we spoke about it here. Escapism, right? Escape. So that's a, that's a funny word, fancy word, let's say. Escapism. We may use it like so many words we know, and we use them. Bhakti, purification, liberation, what else? Practicing, mercy, what else? So many words we say, but we don't know. Sorry, but we don't know the meaning, or we put some meaning that we invent ourselves in those words. Because you ask anybody, what do you mean by purification? So many opinions on that. Can you just give me the definition? Anybody can give the definition of purification.
Aligning your desires for the service of Krishna. Right now they are aligned for my sense gratification.
Aligning my desires.
My body, mind, and word, all three, not only desires.
Okay, any other meaning? Any other opinion? What is purification?
Well, the opposite is contamination, so get rid of this contamination.
What is contamination? Yeah, that's another word, contamination. So what is contamination?
Anarthas.
You heard?
Anarthas.
Anarthas. What is anarthas? Oh, that's another word.
It's very nice to make a definition with the
No.
word that requires
Yeah, that
definition.
requires another.
Envy, lust.
Unwanted.
Envy, lust.
And the lust. Okay, what is lust? What is no, it's important, dear devotees. It's not just a joke, because practicing devotional service is called also another word, abhideya. Abhideya. And abhideya comes from the Sanskrit word abhida. Abhida means Radha Parisisvara Mandir. So abhida means what? Definition. Dictionary definition. This is the meaning of the word abhida. So abhideya, like sambandha, abhideya, prayojana, right? Abhideya, or practicing Krishna consciousness, means that you give definitions to everything. Like children, they say, what is an apple? Or why is the sky blue? Why the grass is green? They have to know everything. They have to know exactly how everything works. And they have to give, like, sometimes children, they use some words and, they just put their own meaning into those words. And the parents are supposed to correct them, right? Say, no, this is called like this because this and that. This is the meaning. So the abhideya, or practicing devotional service, means that we have to give definitions to each and every word. It's not that, by chance we will get to prayojana if we just do rituals and then love of Godhead, as we say, Krishna Prema will appear in my heart. No, we have to know everything in details. Like we also read those the definitions of the 10 offenses. We have to be aware what those offenses are actually. It's not just okay, Vaishnava Aparada. What do you mean by Vaishnava? What do you mean by Aparada? Because meaning is not just some dictionary meaning. Meaning means what? When I say like, what does it mean? It means what it means for me. So what it means in my life. In my life, if I'm a practicing devotee, that means that every single definition means what it means for my progress towards the Supreme Lord, the absolute truth. So what it means in my practice. And practice means progressive movement towards the goal. That's called practice. Practice is not doing things. Practice is progressively moving towards the goal, particular goal. That is called practice. So therefore I have to redefine, like I saw a book by Chaitanya Charaprabhu somewhere there, I believe. It's called Re-answering or Re-answering questions. Re-answering questions or just re-answering. So this is called the introspective practice, that when you start re-answering, redefining. Otherwise, we will be just robots, just doing things we are told to do, so to say. So therefore, it's very important to understand, so what is the meaning? And then, just see the whole story. So it happened, and we discussed with you that what happened actually. What happened was that he made so many mistakes, but the root cause of all those mistakes was what? Escapism, as we said, the desire or the motivation just to leave me alone, basically. Leave me alone. This is the motivation, which is manifested in our practice also, which spoils our practice. Because we think that, well, actually, I don't care for anything. What I care for is my personal what? Liberation. And this is where I put this word, liberation, which is actually Mayavada word. Like, it's eclectical. It's just really, really, now it's called like, now it's very fancy. Now it's very famous word, like purification, liberation, experience, spirituality, spiritual love. So many words that people use eclectically, using those words, meaning just nothing basically. Meaning that I will be happy, that's it. So here we have this very problem that Saubhari Muni had, and he is exemplifying that problem. It's not that he had this problem, I don't have this problem, but he is exemplifying the problem that I care for myself only. And I don't know what myself is. Because I think myself is the body, myself is this ego that thinks, okay, let me do whatever I want to do. That's me. I'm free. Like freedom, that's another word. Right? Here, especially in France. What was the slogan? Friendship, freedom?
Fraternité, liberté, égalité, fraternité.
Yes. Свобода, равенство и братство. Freedom, equality, and brotherhood. Yeah. But what do you mean by freedom? Freedom means that those who exploit others, they are free to exploit others. And that's what they meant here in France, at least. And this is what, and all of us, we are all products of the Western civilization. Maybe not all of us, but actually even that part of the audience is also part of the Western civilization, because for many years it was, it was imposed on them. And now we think freedom, what does it mean? We're a free country. We're free genders. We're free this pride parade. All this freedom, it's a good thing because the soul is free by nature, constitutionally. But we put the meanings which are absolutely contrary to the real meanings. That's the problem. So we think that freedom means I do whatever I want to do, right? No? Yes, we do think so.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think, no, I will, anyways, it manifests in different ways, but the thing is that freedom means that you are free to serve Krishna, etc. So many things. I'm free to be part of this community, of this family, of this society, whatever. I'm free to make my choice, but I'm not free when I made my choice. I'm not free because I am in the borders. When I put myself in the borders, I'm not free. And I don't want to be free. I wanna break free. Very interesting. No, I don't want to break. I mean, so that's this desire to break free. This is the eclectical or the Kali Yuga type of mentality, and basically this is what this ninth chapter canto is about. So the problem. So there is a problem. So this is the first thing. There is a problem, and that problem manifests in different ways. In the way we practice yoga instead of bhakti, for example. So because Sobhaya Muni didn't practice bhakti. There was some mixture of bhakti in his practice, but that was yoga. What yoga means?
Joining yourself with union yourself with the Supreme.
Yeah, exactly. I join myself with the Supreme Self. I do that. Like yesterday, there was a class by Sachinanda Maharaj, and he quoted Srila Prabhupada's lecture from 1974 in Peru, or what was that place? I forgot. Did Prabhupada visit Peru? Peru.
I think he only visited
Venezuela.
Venezuela and South America.
I don't remember. Anyways, so Maharaj, Sachinanda Maharaj quoted Prabhupada. He said, when we chant the holy name, we are not supposed to approach Krishna. But we should chant it in a way that Krishna wants to approach us. And that's like mind-blowing. Because yoga means I approach Krishna, right? I am doing that. This is my way to Krishna. My way or highway. This is how we think. This is our mentality. So I am doing something. That is called yoga. Yoga Mishka. But bhakti means that I call out for Krishna. Oh Krishna, please open the door. And Maharaj gave a nice analogy and described that once he was visiting his friend Dinabandhu at Govinda Kund, and those of you who visited Govinda Kund know there is the ashram of Dinabandhu Baba, and Maharaj says that they came and the door was locked, and I know that Dinabandhu takes a nap from 1 to 4 afternoon, and that was 2 o'clock, but there was no other time I could visit him, so I started knocking the door first. Nobody answered. Then I started calling out, Dinabandhu, Dinabandhu. I knew that he's taking a nap, but I had to see him, and I knew that he would be very happy to see me also. So I was calling out, Dinabandhu, Dinabandhu. Maharaj said that after 10 minutes, Dinabandhu woke up and he came out, he opened the door and he greeted me. He was very happy and he asked me to come in. And then Maharaj says I was sitting there. Maharaj said that he was sitting there under the tree where Madhavendra Puri had been doing his bhajan, and he was chanting and thinking that what happened now actually? What actually happened is very important. It's not that I approached Dinabandhu. Actually, I just called for him. I didn't approach him. Approach means that I'm moving towards him, right? I'm getting rid of the anarthas. Anartha nivriti. I am working with my anarthas. I'm overcoming the obstacles. He said it wasn't possible because the door was very thick. It was an iron door. Those of you who know Dinabandhu's ashram, it's a thick door. You remember the gates, the big gates, and then the walls are very high. I mean, Maharaj said I couldn't, even if I tried my best, I couldn't jump over that fence. Although we know Sachinanda Maharaj is, like a Gopa mentality. He could even try to cross that wall, but he said I was not able. So the only thing was that I call out for him, and then he can approach me from inside. So in the same way, he says that when we chant the holy name, this is a big mistake, thinking that I am chanting the holy name. It's not me who is approaching. It's actually only Krishna who can reveal himself to me when he hears the proper plea for me. So therefore, when we chant the holy name, it's not that I am chanting. We should always remember that that's we're just asking Krishna to come on our tongue, to descend on our tongue. And therefore, Sankirtan is very important. Because who am I to call for Krishna? But when we all together chant his holy name, not in a mentality that we are, we are the champions, my friend that we are, yes, we're approaching Krishna, we are conquering Krishna. No, we're just asking him so he can hear us if we are all together singing his name, chanting his name. Therefore, Sankirtan in particular is very important. It's not about chanting, it's about Sankirtana. And so this is like, I will give you a hint. Actually, this is the problem of the ninth canto, that described in the ninth canto, that if we do not perform Sankirtan, then that's a big problem. If you think I am practicing devotional life, I am doing my devotional practice, that's the biggest mistake we make. I am not doing anything. We can do something. Only us. Therefore, and here, see, so yes, and apparatus, all that stuff, it was there, but the root cause was this mentality that actually I am conquering Krishna. And because I'm doing that, I don't need anybody else. I just don't need you guys. You don't exist even. You are not there. There is me only. And I'm practicing devotional life. This is called what? Kanishthadikari. I don't see others. They are there, they're just like, on the scene, how you call it, the entourage, the stage entourage, or the people, how you call them, statists, or how you call them, how they call them in English. Anyways, those people who are not doing any, they're not characters even. Or in the video game, there are bots, or how they call them also. This. So they do not exist. Or GPT, chat GPT, right? You can communicate even with that guy, but he's not a guy even. And you know that in the back of your mind. That you can even ask him for something. Okay, give me that, thank you. Yeah, sometimes we do it because, it's polite, or whatever. We like feeling ourselves polite. So therefore we act with the chat GPT, even the AI, in a polite way. But actually we don't care for, because this is not a person. So in the same way, when we deal with the other devotees, we don't care actually. We're just doing what I want to do. And that's the problem. This is exactly the problem. And see what happened in the 49th verse. So Bhari Muni starts reflecting on his fall down. And here it's a little tricky, because what he is speaking is one thing, and what Prabhupada is speaking is different thing. Because Prabhupada, in his commentaries, in his purpose, he makes those thoughts complete. But actually the thoughts of Bhari Muni are incomplete. They are actually faulty. Actually what he says is a wrong understanding. But Prabhupada gives proper understanding. Therefore, when we read Prabhupada's purpose, we should, either we may just listen to what Prabhupada says and just believe it, or you try to understand why he's saying that. Because Bhari Rishi, he's saying something absolutely wrong. And see, he said that in the 49th verse, he said, well, what was the reason of my fall down? Actually, he thinks probably because I offended Garuda. No, then he says, well, actually, see, this is important. He says that actually, why I fell down from my practice was that I cheated myself because of the association with the fish. Like he thinks, he thinks that I actually am practicing spiritual life. And because I chose wrong association, I made mistakes. Okay? This is his logic. See, but what is the fault of this logic? He thinks that I could have not associated with them, and then there will be no fall down. So the problem was that I started associating, and this is why I got bewildered and I made a mistake. See the whole picture. So he thinks that I am actually on my own. I started, and because somehow I started associating with the fish, which is like a low kind of association. So because of that, I became contaminated, right? My consciousness became contaminated, and I developed material desires, and I fell down from my spiritual practice, right? This is what we think. We think that I should not associate with the people out there, with my family or with this. This is a bad association. So I am practicing Krishna consciousness, and if I fall victim of this association, I will fall from my practice. So therefore, we say to each other, don't associate, don't go, that's Maya. You should reject that association. Sangatyaga. Sangatyaga. Don't associate with the materialists. And this is what he's thinking. Because I am, see, maybe you don't hear what I'm saying. Maybe you don't catch it. But you try to catch the point. And I'll try to explain it also. So the problem was that he thought he was the only actor in this whole picture. I am the actor. I am the doer here. And my doing is that I'm approaching the absolute truth. Whatever it be, whatever he thought of that. So I'm approaching the absolute truth, and on the way there are obstacles. And this is bad association, this is an obstacle. So because I was not careful, I was not cautious, I fell the victim of that association. This is the mentality of a yogi. It's not a bhakti mentality. So this is what he thought. And then and he started doing austerities for a long time. Again, he thought, no, I should get back to my practice. He didn't review his attitude. He reviewed his activities only. So he thought that was a mistake. I should get back to my original position, that I am practicing devotee. I am approaching God. So he came back to that situation, and he was practicing for a long time. This is verse number 15. And he even spoke very wise words. He said that, let it be the lesson for all the others. Right? But actually, there was no lesson. He didn't even learn the lesson. But still, he started, preaching. And then in 51, again he says, please don't become like me. Don't involve your external senses in all these activities. Again, he's speaking not as a bhakta. He said, don't involve the senses. And he says, see, in the previous, Maharaj mentioned that, but it's very important to stress it properly. And he says that actually, in the 51st verse, he said that actually spiritual practice means that you become, you go to a secluded place, remember? You go to a secluded place, and if you still need to associate, do it, but with the properly minded devotees, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. This is what was said in the previous verse, and that is completely wrong. Why? Who can explain?
Because without sadhusanga we cannot even practice.
Yeah, and Sanatana Goswami says in his commentary, and Prabhupada says in his commentary, following Sanatana Goswami, that actually it's not proper way to say. The proper way is to say there is no other way to make progress besides associating with devotees. See? Now you see the difference. Mm-hmm. So his fault was that he thought that I am on my own. But because I have some, emotional needs, I will associate with devotees. This is what we are doing. We think I'm practicing. But because, I need a wife, I need children, okay, I will get married. Or I think, well, I don't need all that stuff, but what I need is just friends. Okay, I will remain brahmachari. That's crazy. This is crazy. Because one is crazy. He thinks that he will make progress on his own. And this is just optional, whether I associate or not. This is the problem. This is exactly the problem. And then, and he says, if there is no opportunity to have such association, don't associate. So, see, the priority is not to associate, but it's you still like, okay, it's a compromise. See, looking at the society of Vaishnavas as a compromise, that's the problem. This is what the ninth canto is about. Actually, this ISKCON movement is not a compromise. It's the only means. It's the only means. My Maharaj needs a chair. Okay. Okay, so let's go further. Who can repeat what we have just discussed for Janananda Maharaj so that he knows what we're discussing here?
You said that
I cannot want it first.
Well, the problem of Sobali Muni is that he was thinking that by himself he can be basically liberated. He could attain whatever he wanted just by his own spiritual practice. But then he was wrong because he get to associate in the wrong way, and then he fell down. But
Why he was wrong?
because he associated with a lower type of species, we can say.
He thought that
He
was
thought,
his wrong, but
yeah.
what was his real mistake? Yes.
It was that he thought that he's an actor, doer, and he could like go by himself without association. It was optional, and he regarded him as a main character, main actor.
Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada is his purpose. Following Sanatana Goswami says, actually, this is the mistake. Association with devotees is not a compromise, it's the only means. And now we should understand what it means to associate with devotees and see what happened next. Yeah, in the 52, verse number 52, it says that he goes on contemplating. He says, so this is what happened. Because of the association with the fish, I made a mistake and I got the family. And now, see what he says. Because of the wives, I became 50. I became 50. 50 in number. This is 51. What he says.
51.
Well, he says 50, but yeah, he means 51, of course. So that means, see, again, he's thinking like a yogi. Because the yogis, first of all, he thinks I became the family. So this family is the extension of my self, of my ego, you might say. Right? So, and just like the yogis, they can create 8 copies, right? And he thought, see, I created 50 copies. And then he says, in the same verse, he says, but then each of the wives gave me 100 sons or children, and I became 5,000. Okay, 5,051. But he says 5,000. I became 5,000. So he thinks like, actually, he's still in the same position of the actor. I'm acting here. This is not my family. This is me. This is the extension of my ego. And then all the families, 5,000 people, is just the extension of my ego. And this is what his thought process is going like. And in this way, my desire to enjoy increases. So see again, he looks at his desire to enjoy as the, in a wrong way. It's not that see, he lost the cause and effect connection here. He thinks that because I was associating, I got so much desires. Whereas actually it's all the opposite. Because of your desires, you got all that stuff. And your desires were there, why? Because you were on the wrong way. Your attitude towards devotional practice is wrong. So you give way to your material desires because You're having wrong attitude towards what you're doing. This is what is described in this chapter, in this canto, basically. And then what says, see, and then why we are so sure that he was wrong? Because it didn't work. All his contemplation and reflection didn't work. And after saying those words, he did what? He went back to his family life. And he continued living like that for Kalam, it says.
Family life.
Back to his family life. And he continued his family life for many years. Kalam means long time. So after long time, in the 53rd verse said, then he took Vanaprastha. And in the Vanaprastha ashram, Nyasam it is said, but Nyasam here is not Sannyasam, here is Vanaprastham. And then, he went on practicing something, and then only he somehow kind of saw the Lord in the fire or something. That's another thing. And Prabhupada says that probably he went back home, back to Godhead. And there is a very interesting, in this connection, there is a very interesting story that was also told by Sachinand Maharaj yesterday. I didn't know that particular thing. He told the story of Maharaj Bharat Maharaj, who was, you remember the king, and then he renounced, and then he fell. He got the attachment for the deer, and then he died, and he had to get born again as a deer, and then after that he was, remembering, practicing, and then when he died as a deer, with his mouth, the deer mouth, he pronounced the holy names, Hari and Narayana.
Who was that?
Maharaj Bharat, when he became a deer. And he spoke the holy names, although he didn't have the mouth to say that, but he did it.
As a deer.
As a deer, yeah. He said, and Maharaj said yesterday, I didn't know that detail, but he said it's very important. It's very important actually. Actually, when he spoke those holy names, he was offered to go to Vaikuntha. He could go to Vaikuntha because, that's it. You chanted the holy name, Ante Narayana Spriti. But he rejected that offer. I didn't know about that. So he rejected the offer and he took birth again. Why? Because he wanted to deal with the problems that he didn't sort out, which was he never associated with the Vaishnavas properly. As a deer, he could understand that this is actually valuable. This is actually valuable because he stayed in the ashrams and he was eating the remnants. He was eating there, he was sleeping, he was spending his time with the saints, with the sadhus. And then when he died, he was like, okay, you can go to Vaikuntha. He said, no, I have to stay back just to serve the Vaishnavas. Because it's not about my progress. Because spiritual life is not about me, reaching the peak of the world. Vaikuntha, wow, that's the greatest achievement. So because spiritual life is not about achievements, spiritual life is about being part and parcel of Krishna and his family. So this is what Maharaj Bharata as a deer could understand. Therefore he took birth again as a Bharata, or what was Jada Bharata. And then he started serving in different ways. And his main service was that of instructing Maharaj Rahugana. So this is the important message of the 9th canto, that, dear friends, don't be just persons who are practicing devotional service and have to deal with the society. No, it's that we are the part of the society, and only as we can solve our problems by solving the problems of the society. We can make our personal progress only by making the whole society progress towards God. That's the only way. So if we want to read and hear what is there and get the essence of the 10th canto, which is coming, we have to be not individualists, not the egocentrics who are only thinking about their own progress. No, that will not lead us anywhere. So therefore, this is basically, and what happened at the last, it says that Sanatana Goswami says that actually he was supposed, to see everything as the tools for serving the Lord, both himself and his relationships. So this is actually the way that we understand what's happening around me is not just, occasionally or by chance it came here, but this is my way to make my progress towards the absolute truth. There is no other way. Therefore, Hare Nama, Sankirtana Yagi is the only way, because Sankirtana means that I am solving the problem of the society. And I am part and parcel of the society, so in this way I can solve my personal problem also. Otherwise, I will be egocentric, and most I will get to Vaikuntha, okay, but you cannot go to Vrindavan, because Vrindavan means that you are absolutely non-egocentric. There is no ego in this sense. There is ego in the sense that I want to serve, but there is no ego that I, me, mine.
False ego, no false ego.
Yeah, no false ego, absolutely. So, but this is false ego, that I want to go to the spiritual world. I want to go to Vaikuntha. I want to approach God. There is still some ego, and Lakshmi was not allowed to enter Vrindavan because of that exactly false ego. So, if we want to make a real spiritual progress, then the only way is Sankirtana, Samyak, or anyways, there are different explanations, but Sankirtana means all together we chant the holy name, and we're trying to approach the Lord, not approach the Lord, but to pray to Him so that He wants to approach us, as Prabhupada says in that lecture in 1974. So yeah, this is basically it. Any comments or questions? Yes, Maharaj.
Do you have any recollection of, as you said, when he left his body as a deer, he wanted to come back and associate and serve the devotees?
Yes.
But is there any record of him associating with devotees as Jodhbara? Serving Rahugana wasn't in the mood of the devotees, apparently. Is there any record of him actually associating with devotees? It seemed like he was not in a very favorable situation.
Yeah, he was not. Yeah, I was also thinking about it when I heard it from Sachidananda Maharaj yesterday, but
Seems like he was born in a very strange situation.
yeah.
Mundane people almost.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a devotee.
Yes, he was a Brahmana at least.
Mm.
Like the only thing I can think about it is that, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, that when there is no devotees nearby, you still can associate with them by studying the scriptures, because the scriptures describe the way of life of the devotees.
Did Jodhbara study the scriptures?
Yes, in a way. He was not studying as a Brahmana, but he was following the scriptures. And he spoke the scriptural truth to Maharaja Rahugana, which means that he knew the scriptures. And he knew it by, of course, maybe he didn't read the books, but he knew that. And he contemplated on it, he lived by the scripture. So that's my theory, Maharaj. I mean, that's my take on it. That because studying scripture means living by the scripture. And he did it. And he did live according to the examples of the saints.
How much responsibility the individual, you were emphasizing there the importance or the necessity of serving in the association of devotees and not being so self-egocentric to think, I've got to do it myself. Is there a balance there? I mean, the devotee just sort of surrenders to the association, surrenders to the, institute, whatever it is, and doesn't worry about his own personal, application, his own personal, sadhana, yes, but his own personal responsibility to make progress.
Mm-hmm.
Just and we've had that before, and that was one of the challenges we faced, especially in the 70s, or the 80s mainly. when everyone just said, I surrender to my Guru Maharaj, whatever he
Yeah.
says, and I'm sold out, and you know, instead of getting sold out, they got rolled out or tied out or something.
As far as I can understand, the balancing factor here is the intelligent understanding of why I am doing that. If I'm part of the society, I'm serving the Vaishnavas simply because I have to or I'm told to do that. That may be the situation that you described. But when one understands exactly why he or she is doing that, which is to solve the problem, there is a particular problem that I'm solving, and I'm part of that problem. So if I'm not just thoughtlessly, but absolutely aware, being aware of the problem that we're facing, the problems that are described here, this escapism, this egocentrism, this desire to get liberation. So if I'm serving the Vaishnavas because I want to help the society to solve those problems, then automatically I solve my problems, which means I'm making spiritual progress.
And then if you're serving the society and you don't feel you're fulfilling your own problems.
You don't feel like fulfilling your problems.
Yeah, you don't feel like yourself advancing, or not say advancing, but just getting free of material desires, or developing a taste for chanting, or becoming enthusiastic. Where's the balance?
I didn't get your point, Maharaj.
Well, if you're serving the society,
Yeah.
surrender. But in that situation, you accept that that's the path to take, but you're not feeling enlivened. You're not developing a taste for service. You're developing negative feelings instead of positive ones. What do you do?
Yeah, when it happens, then we should revise our motives, of course. Why I'm serving the society of Vaishnavas? Simply because this is how it works here. Because everybody expects me to serve this society, or because, whatever other religious motive I may have. So at this moment, at the moment of crisis, we should revise our motives and try to change it. That, okay, I still, there is no other means but serving the Vaishnavas, but I should know why I am serving the Vaishnavas. And that changes everything. That makes the experience different. Because then I understand that it's not that I'm serving the Vaishnavas to get something, but I understand that I'm serving because this is my life, and I feel satisfied because the result is coming. I mean, that's the way I can.
Serving the Vaishnava, serving the institution, kind of should be one and the same.
Well, I believe that when we speak of the society, we mean the broader society, first of all, then Vaishnava society, and then institution also. Because this is what's happened to, serving Krishna's energies in the way you can do it, any society. Society as it is, all the other living beings. Excuse me?
It's a big subject.
Yeah, it's a really big subject.
Sometimes we define the society as a society of Vaishnavas. Institution is not made up of a variety of individuals. It's a little difficult to know that line.
Yeah, so many.
Go to the institution, don't worry about yourself, just do what you're told, etc. But serving the Vaishnavas is very specific, more specific.
Just one thing that came to mind was, they asked that Jayananda who about making spiritual advancement, and said he was too busy serving to worry about some
own progress.
Yeah,
He's a very advanced devotee. He's like the Acharya. In many ways, the senior devotees in movement consider him to be the most advanced devotee in ISKCON. Although he never took the role of being such. His nature was like that. He's a very totally surrendered soul.
Yeah, it's a very good example, yeah. That's a vivid example.
It's difficult to imitate that example.
Yeah. He would definitely do whatever was required.
You can mind who was in charge, you continue to say,
Yeah.
you look stupid idiot.
Unfortunately, I have to finish because I have other engagements. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
So program today, are you class today or do you have any classes today?
Yeah, I have now.
Now.
In 10 minutes till 1 o'clock.
We'll try to catch up tomorrow. You have any classes?
I'm sure. I don't think so.